There's some memories that last a lifetime. Your first kiss, your first time driving, first time flying, first time getting an A on a test or hearing your parents say they're proud of you, and the first time you experienced the heartbreak of when your favorite video game gets unjustly shut down. If you close your eyes and listen closely, you can hear spirits breaking from tens of thousands of Echo VR players from across the world. Unfortunately, it was revealed a couple days ago that the most popular VR esport, Echo VR, is being shut down by Meta's new CTO, Andrew Bosworth, aka Boz. Big Boz recently took over and is making some pretty big changes and has cemented himself as the supervillain in the VR space. He, for some reason, decided to pull the plug on Echo VR, which is not a dead game by any means. It's a community of tens of thousands of players that still have a massively thriving esports scene. But unfortunately, just like Judge Dredd, Andrew Bosworth was blessed with the ability to axe anything. He's judge, jury, and executioner. So Echo VR was no longer allowed to fly under the new Boz laws. His reasoning is that the community is too tiny, saying that it had fallen into the low 10,000s, which if any of you play games know that that's not really a dead game status for what is essentially a 3-year-old game that doesn't see a ton of updates in the first place. Like, that's pretty fucking good. But not to Bosworth. He only deals in the millions and billions. He doesn't get out of bed unless there's a threesome waiting for him when he stands up. Like, this is the kind of guy that only deals with the biggest numbers, I guess. So he said, unfortunately, since these pests are just so tiny and insignificant, I have to crush them. Keeping things alive takes work, Bosworth said. This is not like a return on investment money standpoint, it's just those resources could be put to other uses that I think will be useful to the now tens of millions of people who are in VR. He also says that Meta has some regulatory constraints that make it more expensive to maintain the game. So this is a bunch of baloney. This is horseradish. There's a bunch of fish paste here. That is a sizable community. That is a pretty strong user base for a game that's 3 years old and does not get active updates. You don't have a team that's on this that's dedicated to working on it around the clock. I just don't believe that's the case. I really don't. I don't think there's a ton of resources that are spent on the game as is, and I don't think taking those resources is going to somehow curb Meta's hundreds of billions of dollars that they're losing already. I'll never understand decisions like this from companies that can clearly afford to just keep this running and maintain the goodwill of tens of thousands of players. Because you cut these people off, they're not coming back. Where are they going to go? They're going to go to Horizon? No one goes to Horizon. That place is more empty than a dilapidated fucking insane asylum from the 1930s. No one goes to Horizon. The only people on Horizon are people that are trying to exchange drugs for Bitcoin. Or just like really shady fucking weirdos RPing. So these players are not going to Horizon, and it's not like you have a ton of other products to offer them. They're just not coming back. They were there mostly for Echo VR, I imagine. And now you've made them hate you. So you've lost them. I feel like the goodwill of them is more lucrative long term than the 4 or 5 developers that you may have been able to take off of Echo VR and put on your ad space, your mobile game ad functionality, or whatever the fuck you're going to use them for. It's a stupid decision. And they go very hard here. They are absolutely making sure the shit stays buried and dead. Like, they are putting it in the casket and sending it straight to the goddamn core of the earth. They're sending it right to fucking hell. Echo VR will never see the light of day if it goes Boz's way. The Boz went on to put his dick in his mouth one more time. He said, I will add one more thing on this. I know people are really focused on it understandably, which is that we looked at if we can open source it, and the answer is basically no. It's very deeply entangled with a bunch of our systems, and there's no. It'd be even less cost effective to do that. Can we spin it out or sell it? No, because we want the Ready at Dawn team to be continued to be focused on these other projects that we're excited about that I think are going to have a bigger impact on a bigger number of people on driving more adoption. I don't know if he realizes how big of an asshole he sounds like every time he opens his mouth. Everything that comes out is all about numbers. You guys are small, so you guys suck, which is why we're abandoning you out in the cold. Fuck you. Find your own way home. Like, it's fucking silly. If the game was truly dead, like it was a really small community, then I'd understand it. Like, that makes sense. Most people would understand it. But the game's doing, like, really well. They have, like, 3 other LAN events this year that have, like, $200,000 in prizing. Like, it's not a dead game. It's really not. They could have, like, just, if they want to focus on other big projects for the Ready at Dawn team, you could just keep the game as is and then have them still work on the other shit. The game is not seeing a ton of updates, and it hasn't in like 3 years. So if you just kept it the same, just keep it running, just keep the fucking lights on, like that's the bare minimum, people would probably still be fine with that. And then they could focus on whatever other bigger projects you think are going to entice a bigger number of players to come to the fucking metaverse and, you know, the Oculus, whatever. I just don't see why you couldn't have your cake and eat it too here. It just seemed like a really simple move. He even admits openly that the previous CTO, John Carmack, wouldn't have shut down the game. And do you know why? Because he's a guy who fucking gets it. He's not perfect, no one is, but he at least understands basic shit like this. Whereas Boz doesn't. Because you know what Boz is? He's an ad guy. Before he was the CTO of this shit, he was just an ad guy. All he did was fucking ads. There's a great video that's made by a channel called Thrill Seeker that I'd like to show you some clips of. He covers this whole thing in depth, so I highly recommend it. I'll put a link to the description. I'll put a link to the video in the description. But I just want to show you a little bit more here about the situation because it's kind of interesting. Oh, did Thrill Seeker make a whole video on the Echo VR thing? Yeah, I know the situation. Meta shut them down.
Why is this happening? Why kill a game with tens of thousands of active users? And is this really how Meta is going to operate?
Because that's just Facebook in a nutshell, baby. That's just Meta in a nutshell, baby. Fuck everyone, fuck everything. We're just gonna lose money and you can't stop us.
Pretty easy to see exactly why. Swapping chief technology officers of a future technology company, even if Carmack wasn't full-time, is almost like a company brain transplant. On one hand,
yep.
Carmack comes from a pretty...
Which is one of the big problems that Halo Infinite faced, because they kept losing some upper-level, like, senior project leads. So every time they got replaced, the whole vision started to change, and everything kept getting muddier and muddier and muddier, and then you get the absolute fucking mess that Halo Infinite became. That's why making those kind of massive swaps in the middle of projects is always a fucking disaster.
Bosworth, on the other hand, is cut from totally different cloth. He's been at Facebook since 2006, and he made his claim to fame within the company, making Facebook money as the vice president of ads. That's right.
Hey, what a great fit for gaming. That sounds amazing. Let's take the vice president of ads and put him on the gaming space. That's just a seamless fit. Fuck yeah. That's the Boz, baby. Why the hell would he be put on the gaming space? What do you mean? Gaming is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Taking a guy who's all about just making money off like ads and shit, trying to monetize the gaming space, 100%. That's why they put him there. Plus, Meta lost like fucking, Jesus, what was it, like hundreds of billions of dollars or something in valuation over the last year? They're desperate. So they're going to sick the Boz on the metaverse, on the gaming space.
We had a gaming legend, and now we have the legend of advertisements in charge of VR. And as
but look how cool he is.
And sick as that is.
So what happened here? It just dwindled. You know, the user base is small. It's loyal as all get out, but it's small. It's measured in, you know, the low 10,000s. Those resources could be put to other uses that I think will be useful to the now tens of millions of people who are in VR, and at some point you have to make those choices.
So,
the tens of millions of people in VR, I can assure you, are not in the metaverse. Brother, that place is barren and empty. That place is like every 16-year-old outcast's birthday party. There is nobody in there. So yeah, there is a lot of VR users these days, and I'll tell you where they're not. The fucking metaverse. They're on like Gorilla Tag and shit like that. Yeah, I know. Him calling 10K small obviously just shows how delusional he is when it comes to like player-based numbers, because this is an ad space guy. 10,000 people is nothing to him. When he's working with like Facebook mobile ads and shit, that is barely a blip on the radar. That is a completely meaningless number to him. So he can't really separate that number in the ad space to the gaming space. Because a 10K, and I think it was, I imagine it was more than 10K. But even just a 10K user base on a multiplayer VR game is pretty fucking good. That's a strong community.
But I do need to think about return on investment. And I'm not talking about money back to Meta. I'm not talking about trying to make money.
That's good, because Meta doesn't make money. And you know who's not going to solve that problem? Goofball Boz. So I'm glad that's not on the priority list, because that shit is not happening.
Talking about the return on the human capital, the people that could be doing something that's going to affect millions of people, but instead they're trying to keep something alive that affects 10,000s of people. I love how deeply it affected those people, but I just got to make those calls. It's part of my job.
His job is legitimately to be hated. This guy has done nothing that people appreciate except for soulless corporate suits. This guy is a fucking chronic loser. He is an ad space guru. He pumps ads to kids on Facebook and now shuts down games that people like. This guy's entire position is to just be disliked. To be an unlikable heel. What a fate. What a fucking fate. Corpo slime. I mean, pretty fucking much, man.
But beyond cosmetic paid DLC, the game hasn't really been updated at all since it came to the Quest 3 years ago. And half the game,
I didn't know it was
in
that
my
old.
opinion, the better half of the game, Echo Combat, just never came to the Quest at all. It's stuck on PC for no reason. And at this point, it's honestly impressive that Echo still has a community as large as it does at all. But
Wait, so is Echo... Did they still have a component elsewhere off of the Boz domain? Oh, because they haven't taken it down yet. Oh, okay. I'm talking about when they take it down. Are they affecting the one that is outside of the Quest? Like, are they taking the one that is on PC? Does the whole thing come down? Like, the PC one comes down too? Yeah, because they're shutting off all the servers. Got it. Okay.
some people really don't care, and they'll just bend over and take it from any corporation that'll give it to them. But really, why do I even care? It's just a game.
I will say, though, as far as corporations go, I think Meta has the least amount of meat swallowers in the world. Everyone from every walk of Earth hates Facebook, and Facebook is a company. Like, no matter where you are in the world or with your beliefs, everyone equally fucking hates it. I don't see many people ever defending it. I see some metaverse brainwashed people, but those are very small in number. Echo VR has need everyone's help to save Echo VR. It has 3 to 4 yearly LAN events and multiple esports leagues. Has a dedicated user base, putting money into making it the biggest VR esport. Yeah, so when this story broke, I kept seeing it touted as like the biggest VR esport. I don't really keep up with the VR scene much, so I wasn't very familiar, but I still think that's pretty cool. Hope someone sets up their own servers for this. Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, that's going to be unlikely, especially with a company like Meta, and especially with a soulless weirdo like Boz. If someone tried to set up like their own private server, like if they tried to do what City of Heroes did, for example, I feel like Meta is the company that would 100% come after them legally. So I think there's a 0% chance of that happening. So once it goes down, it'll stay down. There's definitely still a fighting chance to save Echo. So does Thrillseeker do a call to action here? Because I don't really know how you save it beyond making a big stink online. And normally I'd say that does have a chance, but with Meta, I just don't think they give a fuck. I really don't.
Someone out there has created a functional mod loader for Echo VR called the Vega Mod Loader. This has been used specifically in the past for professional Echo tournaments, mainly to change the server to play in a LAN environment. And
those are kind of crazy setup here.
Some other adjustments with the Vega patch. The community is going to eventually reverse engineer the servers, whether that takes months or years to do, which it could take years. They're going to do it. So if they're...
Yeah, they absolutely can do it. Like they absolutely could do that, and what would happen is Meta would sue them. It'd be a cease and desist if they keep going. That is exactly what happened initially with City of Heroes, and they ended up running private servers in secrecy for like 8 years, which was in a very big legal gray area. What are you doing, Io? Why are you trying to eat the trash can? I really do hope that they don't do that, because there's absolutely no harm in having the private servers. It doesn't hurt Meta's bottom line. What are you doing? What is going on over there? It does nothing to Meta's bottom line. It does nothing to their company. It is completely a victimless thing to just have private servers of Echo VR persist. But these companies are fucking cutthroat, and I feel like Meta is definitely going to be one of the worst ones for it.
And I gotta say, I am so excited to go work on some hardware videos now that aren't so loaded. But I also hope that you guys got to see a little bit behind what's going on at Meta right now.
Hey, I got more reasons to hate Meta.
They're just a company making VR stuff,
love that.
and they're doing a lot for the industry. Let me know what you thought below. Much love. Drill out.
That was good. That was an extremely informative look at exactly what was going on. I had a baseline understanding of what was happening, but this was a lot deeper into it. So now I have
Two orders of magnitude
an
less space
antagonist,
to play with, thermal space to play.
Boz.